it's Entrepreneurship Spotlight Review, and just like we've been doing today, we're doing a review of the last couple of weeks, and so it is January. A lot has gone on in the entrepreneurship world. One of the things which I've noticed is standing out this year is artificial intelligence. We'll have that conversation, but I'll start with you. What's going on in the entertainment, in the entrepreneurship world so far this year?
Well, first of all, it kind of feels awkward being a guest on my own segment. But yeah, we'll go with it. You know, it's almost like you read my mind because the biggest thing up there is artificial intelligence. It's the next big thing, or it is the big thing, and it's here to stay. You know, AI, last year on the Spotlight, we had guests like Lai Tehesi of Lognetics, who hosted the Tech Summit, the World Tech Summit. And it was amazing to see a lot of young minds. I was there, I was a moderator in that event, so it was amazing to see a lot of young minds coming together to, talk about tech. And AI is not just in the tech world now. It has, it's diversified into a lot of things in education, in medicine, in banking. Everybody uses tech now. Even we, the journalists, we use tech a lot. ChatGPT, OpenAI, and all of the rest. So AI is very big. It's up there. It's number one on my list. Secondly, I think remote working is a thing now. Ever since COVID, the lockdown, people work remotely now, especially when most of your work is done on a computer. So people have realized, managers have realized that you don't necessarily have to be in the office to, get your job done. And statistics have shown that productivity has actually increased from remote working because it cuts down the stress of being in traffic, waking up early, having to dress up, going to the office, and all those formalities. So you can be at home on your system, making $1 million deals via Zoom meetings and all of that. And anytime you need a break, you can just go take a snack and lie down and have a power nap.
That's the part you're interested in. But it's interesting to note that President Trump, one of the first decisions he made being sworn into office is to say all federal workers must come back to in-person work as opposed to remote working and the likes. And I do agree with you that remote work has come to stay. But what do you think about that direction? Because whether we like it or not, in most cases, the West lead and the world follows. I don't agree with it. But here say federal workers must come back to work as opposed to working virtually. What impact do you think this will have, or do you think that would just be for them?
Well, first of all, I think Trump is very old school.
He
So
is 80 years
yes,
old.
he's very old school. So it's expected that he would say something like that. But if statistics show that productivity increases when people work remotely from their comfort zones, I think there is no need to come to the office except you absolutely have to. It cuts down a lot of stress. I feel like it's just common sense. If the work is getting done and getting done faster from the house, then it's a no-brainer. Remote work it's a plus.
You know what, interestingly, I'm all for remote work. I have an office, well, I only went into my office once last year. All I had to do was either virtually or when I had work events externally, and most clients would rather meet over coffee these days and just have a conversation, just like you would do working from home with your coffee and your stack in front of you. And so I think remote work has come to stay. But talking about artificial intelligence, the US government has now stated that they would have, I think, a $500 billion fund for artificial intelligence. And you've seen how influential Elon Musk has been in his own space. The CEO of Microsoft just this last week has said he is putting 89 billion into artificial intelligence. I think Mark Zuckerberg of Meta, they're putting about $65 billion. But where does Nigeria stand in that? Because I remember Boson Tijani, the Honorable Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, had done some pitch session of sorts for Nigerians in AI and researchers to come do some work last year. Do you think Nigeria will join that train, or we're still doing a lot of talking?
Well, I think we are already joining that train, even though Nigeria kind of plays catch up when it comes to these things. But I feel there's a lot of improvements, right? And also, it brings me to mobile businesses now. We were talking about the big parts of the entrepreneurial space, and mobile business is another part of the business space that has boomed a lot within the last couple of years. with Amazon, being the biggest online business, over $460 billion. So right now, it's good that you don't really have to have a physical working store in order to make sales in your business. You can just have a small warehouse or from the comfort of your home, sell out your goods and services online, make home deliveries, and you're making money, from the comfort of your home. That's still another kind of sub part of remote working as well. Also, green businesses
Okay.
are here to stay eco-friendly, alternative energy sources. Now, because of the whole carbon footprints, climate change, global warming, so a lot of businesses are moving away from fossil fuel energy sources and moving more towards other alternatives. You have a lot of solar-powered businesses now. Electric cars are the next big thing as well. They're here to stay. So, I mean, if you're watching and you're an investor and you're looking for it to put in your money, I would recommend electric. The electric car business is actually one big place where you can have that. The charging ports, the cars themselves. There's been a lot of importation recently of
Sorry, Tesla in town last week.
electric cars in the country. So that's another one. People are now opting for inverters and solar panels instead of the fuel generators. So that's another place. Then one very surprising one now is influencing. Influencers are making a whole lot of money. That is why the American businessman, I can't remember his name, wanted to buy TikTok. Because there's a lot of money there now. People just have a ring light and a smartphone, and they're making money. The tap, 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 roses, lions, and everything. You go online on live, and they send you a lion worth 100,000 naira just like that. And if you get like 10 of that every day, that's some cool money. So these influencers, they have money. Build them.
Interestingly, I've learned that TikToks, like you said, which the US has tried to ban, but now they've given 5 days, makes more impact with influencing than Meta's Facebook, Instagram, and even X. That if you want to market product, it's more efficient to do that on TikTok. And TikTok, they've even gone further to have a TikTok shop where you could see an item and then you buy it on TikTok. And so I think that's great. But like what you said about renewable energy, the US government have said, oh, they're pulling out from the Paris Climate Agreement. But billionaire Bloomberg has said, hey, I'm going to contribute 22% of what the US was donating to WHO or whatever. And so the private sector have now come out, even though the government is saying this is what they're doing, that we will still support this agreement. So I do agree with you on renewable energy. I know someone in Nigeria close to me who has a solar-powered inverter. And so through the day, they run on solar. In the night, they run on electricity, which now charges the inverter and then continue. And it has cut down their power cost a lot. And so the more we have players in that sector, then these prices will go lower. The stand generators were very expensive. We had the Meccano. Then it went lower to the I Pass My Neighbor and the likes. For the influencing space, I feel it opens a bigger window, which means there's more space for people to rent out equipment, microphones, the podcasting space. As much as people try to say, oh, podcasters make a lot of noise, I listen to more of podcasts than I do of music now. I listen to more of podcasts than I do of radio. I mean, we're on TV, so I get to watch TV, but I learn so much from it. Talking about that, even books. I think people should look more into audiobooks.
Audiobooks, right.
Because in the last year, I listened to 10 audiobooks. The previous year, I think I read like 4 hardcover books. And so audiobooks is a space. Now, this also creates room for Nigerians who are into real estate. You can now create spaces where you can rent out, people can come create their content. And I know they have a couple of those in Lagos
yeah. In
and
Abuja as well. Yeah, that's happening. It's good you mentioned podcast as well, because podcasting, initially when it started, it wasn't really big until I think a couple of years or 3 years ago, it became like bigger than even shows now. I mean, there's this famous podcasters that do Shits and Gigs, Fuhad and James. I mean, they did a podcast show, and they sold out O2 Arena. The tickets were as high as about £60 per person, and they sold out O2 Arena doing a live podcast show. I never knew something like that was achievable.
It's a great industry for entrepreneurs, which I don't think people should look down on, because I listened to I Said What I Said by Jolan FK, and I've listened to it like over the last 3 years. And now they even do tours where I think they do tours in the UK, they do live shows in Nigeria. I'm hoping they'll do the US. And so it goes beyond just even being virtual to now having real live shows and the like. So I think it's going to be a bright year for the entrepreneurship space.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
What's your 3 for 3 for
I was dreading
2025?
that question. I hoped you were not going to
What
ask.
3 things did you do last year that you're proud of?
What I was proud of last year, well, they're just personal goals that I set for myself. I mean, I moved to a bigger space. I'm really proud of that. I'm so much in my comfort zone right now. Basically, most of my goals that I set, at least more than 50% of the personal goals I set for myself, I was able to achieve them, so I'm really, really proud of that. So but when it comes to things I'm looking forward to achieving this year, the Entrepreneur Spotlight, we're diversifying into other shows now. There's a new show coming up, Brain Champions,
Tell us about
you know.
it.
Well, I don't want to spill so much because we're still in the audition phase, but Brain Champions is a show that celebrates young intellectuals. So we're going to be pitching teams from schools, they are best of the best, high achieving students to come and compete against each other on a series of academic quizzes, questions, and to win prizes like scholarships, cash prizes, gadgets, and all of the rest. It's going to be really interesting. It's kicking off from March, so watch this space.
It's impressive to see that entrepreneurship spotlight host is now an entrepreneur. Well, you've always been an entrepreneur, but you're bringing new things. You have what's the name of the baking
Bake
business?
My Day.
Bake My Day, that's your business,
Yeah.
yeah. You are a chef, I knew you're a chef tender, but you are now what I call a shallot onion. You have different layers you can peel off.
Yeah.
We look forward to seeing how the year turns out. You're doing amazing. And that's all we can take on the Entrepreneurship Spotlight Review. We'll take a break, and when we return, I'll be speaking to the men in green. And you'll see why I call them the men in green. Don't go away.